What we do here is go back.
What's up guys, it's Average Old, making average content for the average viewer, and today I want to talk about the Modern Warfare Battle Royale gameplay details. Now all of the information that I want to discuss today I have compiled from an absolutely invaluable Reddit thread that I will fully credit and link down below in the description. But let me just say that this thread is crammed to the brink of bursting like a back alley hooker on a Sunday morning. Does that simile work? Who cares, it's staying in the video anyway. Before we get on with this awesome information, I'd like to see if we can hit 30 likes on this video, and if you're new here, then it would be awesome if you'd subscribe to stay fully up to date with everything to do with this Modern Warfare Battle Royale. Also, I'd like to know what you guys are thinking in regards to WarZone. Are you as excited as Michael Jackson in a playground? Because I certainly am. So let's get on with it, shall we? Right, so let's talk about some semantics before we get too deep into this thing. First of all, the facts. Now as of this moment, we can confirm from people who have managed to see the WarZone tab unclassified that there will be 200 players per match. Now that's a hell of a lot of people. That means that if I got everyone to subscribe to me in 2 lobbies, I could start monetizing my content, which is sweet. Now also, we have the size of the map confirmed, and from the looks of it, it's absolutely huge. If you want to see it for yourself, you can go into the Atlas Superstore map, aka IKEA, and go into free spectate mode. This will allow you to float around a lower resolution but fully to scale version of the Battle Royale map. Failing that, you can watch one of the hundreds of videos on YouTube that have been made about it. I mean, after you've watched this one, of course. Now, someone on Twitter did put a size comparison of this map and the Blackout map, and it looks to be about 3 times the size, if not more. Now that is absolutely massive, so even with the 200 player count, chances are that there will be some slower moments. So think more Erangel from PUBG rather than Fortnite. So the only other thing that I wish to discuss that isn't a direct link to gameplay is the release date. Whoa, now I know, just me saying those 2 words is going to have you all giddy and excited, but please take what I'm about to say with a pinch of salt, as it is speculation at this point. That is of course unless I'm right. If I am right, feel free to call me a messiah or a prophet or any of those big words. But from what I have seen, and you can check this out for yourself in the Reddit post, all things are pointing to the release day being February the 18th, which is actually tomorrow. Now I'm not sure I believe this because as of this point we haven't heard a single word from the developers or publishers, but fingers crossed, a release date by tomorrow would be amazing. So the next thing that I want to talk about is how the games are going to start. So according to leaks from the Gaming Revolution and the Reddit user DugDagNabbit, each game will start with 200 players in a pre-game free-for-all lobby. Not too dissimilar to how we have all grown to expect a Battle Royale to start, but the differences will come once the match actually starts. Now in the files there is a line of code that clearly contains the word Jump Master. This will be familiar to you if you have ever played the game Apex Legends, which, unless you've been living in a rock or you're the guy from Quantum Leap and you've just joined us from the year 1970, you will be aware of. So the Jump Master mechanic basically means that you and your squad jump out of the AC-130 to start a match. One of you will be in charge of where you land as a group. This is handy because that way you don't all have to coordinate where you're going to drop, so that the guy that thought it was a good idea to take a massive dump just as the pre-game started doesn't get left behind. Now, this all seems pretty standard for a Battle Royale so far. However, if you look at some of the lines of code that have been data mined, we see that there are 3 infiltration options. These are as follows: AC-130 entrance, convoy entrance, and helicopter entrance. Now, I'd like to talk about the last 2 there. So a convoy entrance would imply that you were taken into the map in a truck or a van, similar to how you might enter the map on the A side of Gunrunner, for example. Now, to me, this poses a number of questions. First off, are these options something that you have to choose in the pre-game lobby? And if so, if you choose the convoy option, for example, does that mean that you will be dropped off at a random location? Or is there a predetermined spawn like you might see in Escape from Tarkov or Hunt Showdown? And if this is the case, would it be possible for other players to drop on said spawn when entering the map from the standard AC-130 drop? And what about the helicopter? Are we able to control it? Or is it just a random drop point? Do we get to keep it? I just don't know, and the more I speculate and hypothesize, the more excited I get. This whole situation reminds me a lot of waiting for Season 8 of Game of Thrones. Many a drunken evening was spent with my friends, talking with our tinfoil hats on, talking about who we thought was going to sit on the Iron Throne, who was going to die, and how awesome it was going to be. Excitement was at an all-time high, and we were all so eager to see which one of us was right. I mean, turns out it was none of us, because it turned out to be as much of a disappointment as it was when I told my parents that I was going to uni to study drama. But let's hope that's not the case here. Anyway, I digress. Now the next thing I feel is really interesting to talk about is the weapons. So far, we know that the weapons will be graded similarly to how we have seen in previous Battle Royales, with a super comprehensible tiered colour system, whereby white equals common, green equals uncommon, blue equals rare, purple equals epic, and orange equals legendary. Now, there are also two other colours that have been data mined. And these are red, which are for custom weapons, which we will get onto later, and gold, which for the moment remains a mystery. Now I want to take a step back a second and talk about these different tiers. In games like Fortnite, the rarity of guns has a direct correlation to damage output, so a grey gun might do 22 damage per shot, whereas the blue version of the same gun might do 28, but as we all know, Fortnite is a shitty little kids game and we are Call of Duty fans, so we are men. And some women. But my point is, I can't see this being the case, so my theory is as follows. Either the guns themselves will be ranked by how powerful they are, so for example, the Uzi would be a grey item and an orange item will be something like the M4. Or the pre-patch 725. Personally, I think that this is highly unlikely, because in doing this, Infinity Ward would thereby be admitting that their guns are horribly imbalanced. So, what I think that they will do is to have rarity based on the attachments that come on the gun already. So a grey gun might just be the base gun, a blue would have one attachment, and the orange would be a fully kitted out gun with maybe a perk or two for good measure. Like I said before, this is just one man's crazy rambling, so don't take anything I say as gospel. I'm just trying to piece this puzzle together. Although, if this were a puzzle, it wouldn't really be like a 4-year-old's 9-piece puzzle, it would probably be more akin to trying to make Clifford the big red fucking dog out of some dodgy street food. But I'm trying my best, okay? Before we move on from the weapons, I think it's also good to mention that there have been a number of weapons that have been leaked that are said to be coming with the release of Battle Royale. These are the G17, the Honey Badger, the Intervention, and the Spaz 12 shotgun, all of which are obviously super nostalgic weapons and would be welcome additions. Although, I will add that it is unclear whether they are coming specifically to WarZone or if they will be added to the main game later down the road, but it's definitely exciting nevertheless. Right, so let's talk about the big thing, Plunder. So what is Plunder? As far as we can tell at the moment, Plunder is an in-game currency. This Plunder can be looted from around the map as cash or as large bulbous sacks of money. It can also be looted off of dead players, and there might be other ways of obtaining it as well that we are not aware of yet. So what is it used for? Now, some people have been able to access the WarZone training grounds within the game itself. And although this has only given us a brief look at what this game mode might be like, it did give us some very useful insights. So in the training grounds, which is like a tutorial for the game mode, it shows a player finding some money and then they are told to take it and use it at some sort of supply station. From there, you can see that the player is given some options as to what they can buy. These are things that, for the most part, are generally things we might see as kill streaks in the rest of the game, so airstrikes, UAVs and things like that, but interestingly enough, there is also the option to select a custom loadout drop. So it would seem that you are able to create your own classes before the match even starts, and then you are able to earn them in game. Now again, this is me putting on that little tinfoil hat again, but I have a theory that would mean adding a lot more depth to the gameplay loop. In the files, it says that you can deposit your plunder at an ATM at any point during the match. You can also do this at one of the banks in Verdansk, or there is mention of the use of a flare that can call a Helo extract. Now, people have been speculating that maybe the reason for doing this is to convert your plunder into XP to help you rank up. Personally, I think this would be a massive wasted opportunity, and to be honest, with the emphasis that we are seeing being put on plunder, I don't think that it might be as simple as this. In fact, I am hoping that we can use this plunder outside of the game to buy weapons and attachments for our custom classes. So instead of just being able to create any custom class from the plethora of weapons and perks available in multiplayer, we would have to save up and buy these things. So then, when we call it from inside the game, we might actually be risking those weapons and loot if we die. And think about it, this actually makes sense. If this game is going to be free, which I'm sure that it is at this point, then a lot of the players that are joining the game won't have access to their multiplayer rank, so they won't have to level up if they are able to buy these things. I don't know, but it's good food for thought. Just quickly, I have one more thing to talk about and then I'll leave you to your day, as I'm aware that this is dragging on a bit, and that is the Gulag. There is a lot of information about the respawn mechanics in WarZone, but I think I'll have to save that for another video because there is honestly loads. The reason I want to talk about the Gulag is that it links in with my Plunder theory. So if you're not aware, the Gulag is a place whereby dead players from the match will queue up for a chance for a 1v1. Upon winning that 1v1, you will be granted another life in the round. How exactly this works remains to be seen, but something very interesting about this is that it has been said that whilst you wait for your 1v1, you will be able to bet your plunder on the other players fighting before you. Now this is interesting because as far as I'm concerned, it debunks the theory that by depositing your plunder it will be converted into XP. Let me explain. So to be in the Gulag, you have to be dead, right? Not downed, but full on dead, lost to the world. So if this is the case, then surely all your loot will be gone, including all of the plunder that you have found during the match. So by that logic, for you to be able to bet plunder on another two people who are fighting, then you must have some in your reserves. This also begs the question, what else can the plunder be used for? Can it just be to be used on these bets? And if that's the case, what's the point in winning more of them if all that you can use them for is winning more bets? So I think that this further solidifies my theory about buying weapons. Anyway, that's all I really have time for. I know it's a lot to digest and there will only be more to come in the next few days and weeks. One thing is for sure though, is that this game mode is going to be absolutely massive and hopefully a hell of a lot of fun. Now, if you've been watching my videos before, you'll know I love to see who sticks around until the end of these little videos. So, if you're still here, I'd like you to answer this super burning question. If you could choose one historical figure to be your duo partner in WarZone, who would it be and why? Anyway, that's it from me today. I'm Average Joel. Peace.